put a tube down your throat, and the machine is going to breathe for you. And I couldn't bear it anymore. I looked over at Justin. He was so weak. And he nodded his head. Yes, he wants them to intubate him. And even though he couldn't tell me, I really believe in so many ways, he was just so tired. He was so tired of having to struggle to take every breath. And as I sat there and rubbed his feet, I started crying. And I remember being mad at myself, thinking, no, you don't cry in front of Justin, get it together. But I couldn't handle it anymore. And I just remember thinking, what if he doesn't wake up? What if he never wakes up? I think both Justin and I knew at that point that when he was intubated, he wasn't going to wake up. And he slid over to me on the bed, which took every single effort he had. He put his head on my shoulder, and we sat there like that for like 5 minutes. Didn't say a single word. And soon after that, it's almost like it was our goodbye time. But soon after that, his heart rate dropped during a breathing treatment, and what was supposed to be a scheduled procedure to intubate him turned into an emergency procedure. One of those situations where you're standing in his room and being pushed out as a team of doctors comes rushing in, closes the curtain so you don't see the procedure they're about to do on your husband, shove a tube down his throat. And I remember walking around the halls of that hospital in just a cloud, thinking, how did we get here? And I found a couch, and I remember curling up in the fetal position and just sobbing. And thinking, oh, he cannot die here. He cannot die here. They gave us more good news. Told us that he was stable and that we could get on the air ambulance home. We arrived back in North Carolina after being 2 weeks in Orlando. 2 weeks past our vacation in the hospital. When we got at Duke, they informed us that Justin had lost 50 pounds. That is the last picture that was ever taken of Justin. They also informed us that they believed there was another source of infection. So they started to do a little bit more tests. They started to really truly get their brilliant team of doctors together and figure out why all of a sudden he went downhill so fast. Was it the cancer or was it something else? Well, they found out that it was a combination of things. The cancer had collapsed Justin's lung. It had grown so large, the tumor, that it completely obstructed his bronchial tube. And then he had infection throughout his whole body because his gallbladder had failed as a result of the lymph node that was engrossing cancer. They decided that, and we as a family, we decided to just keep Justin intubated. We decided, okay, let's move forward, just figure this out. I'm hoping for more good news. Take the gallbladder out, remove the source of infection, put a stent in, open up the airway into the lung. Let's get him off this ventilator. I had a plan. I had it all worked out. I had a plan. This is what we're going to do. And then he's going to go back on chemotherapy. And then he's going to beat it again, and everything's going to be fine. I guess in some ways I wasn't really living in reality. Because after they removed Justin's gallbladder, he did improve. But at 1 o'clock that afternoon, his blood pressure dropped and his heart stopped. And I was in the room with him when I wasn't even supposed to be, but I was waiting on the team of doctors to come in to talk about the other stent placement. And I was in the room with him when the nurse looked at me and she said, "Kristy, I can't find a pulse." And I remember standing there, my legs like concrete, and her asking me, "Do you want to step out?" And I shook my head and I was like, "I'm not leaving." And then the doctors all rushed in, the rapid response team, and this time they're carrying a defibrillator with them. And as I was kind of pushed out of the way, because I was literally in the way by his bed, I stood outside his room and I thought, I can't do this by myself. Just all these thoughts and emotions of Orlando kept coming back, and I said, I can't do this. So I took off running. As much as I hated to leave him, I took off running. And I went to the waiting room where I knew I'd find his family. His mom, his dad, my mom was in there. And I just stood there, my face white as a ghost, and I just stood there and just started waving my hands. They all ran after me, screaming what happened, and I didn't even know what to say. I just told him his heart stopped. When I stood outside his room, he was just engrossed with doctors and everybody working on him, and I just kept looking at the monitor, looking at that little picture of a heart and that flat line next to it, and I just started this chant. My mom is behind me and she's holding me up. Literally, my legs are like jello. And I just started saying, "Come on, baby, come on, baby, come on, baby, come on, baby." Because I just wanted him to come back. All of a sudden, I saw someone running down the hall towards us. And it was his sister. I don't know how many of you have brothers and sisters. I have 2. And I can't imagine anything happening to them. She had one brother. And as she came down that hallway, she looked at me and she screamed, "What happened?" And I just told her, "He's gone." And it was just like a scene of a movie. She fell to the ground. She literally collapsed in the middle of the hallway and just started screaming, "No, no." I turned my attention back to that monitor and I saw that flat line jump. I saw that Justin had a heartbeat. And I thought, oh gosh, okay, more good news. He's back, he's back. Everything's gonna be okay, he's back. But I soon realized that when a team of doctors bring you into a conference room and they're carrying 7 boxes of Kleenexes, they don't have good news for you. They told us that Justin went 8 minutes with no oxygen to his brain. They told us that Justin had developed a blood clot near his heart that had caused it to stop. They told us the only reason why Justin's heart is beating again is because they gave him some medicine to make it pump. They told us Justin's unresponsive. They told us that we should be prepared to say goodbye. And they told us that we need to make a decision as a family on whether or not we are ready to pull the plug. We all knew that if Justin couldn't come back as Justin wouldn't want to come back. So we made the decision. We all took turns to go back and say our final goodbyes and say the final things on our heart. When it was my turn, I kissed his head and I told him to watch over us. But I made him a promise. And I told him that I promise his son will always know how much his daddy loves him. This was only 3 months after we filmed the commercials. I knew Justin so desperately wanted to share his story. He so desperately wanted to help other people make better decisions in life. So I made him another promise. I told him that I would tell his story. And I would help save the lives of kids just like you. The hardest to watch was his mother. Because a parent is not supposed to bury a child. She kept grabbing his hand and saying over and over again, "Not my baby, not my baby." And when the time came, she took one hand and I took the other. And we witnessed Justin's final heartbeat. And on 6:08 p.m. on November 24th, 2010, Justin Andrews was pronounced dead. It was the day before Thanksgiving in 2010, 2 Thanksgivings ago. As all of you were at home, eating turkey, watching football games, and celebrating Thanksgiving with your family, I was planning my husband's funeral. And I was trying to explain to a 4-year-old, "Oh, my daddy isn't coming home," whose only response was, "Who's going to be my daddy now?" And this past Thanksgiving was 1 year to the date of his death. And then as I woke up on that day, I couldn't get it out of my head where I was a year ago. So much had happened in a year. He had missed so much of our lives. But on that day I heard a song I'd heard dozens of times before, but I listened a little bit closer this time. The song was "If I Die Young." And she says in that song, "Funny when you're dead, how people start listening." And the truth in those words is immeasurable.